is,
You're right, this
it is 7 o'clock, so we will get this regular council meeting for the City of North College Hills started. It is October 2nd at 7 o'clock p.m. Anyone that wishes to address council, please sign in on the sheet over at the table. So with that, we will start, as we always do, by standing, doing our prayer, and then Pledge of Allegiance. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can with your help and guidance. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Call this meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. It's good to be back. Sorry I missed a couple meetings. I do appreciate Ms. Zorb for filling in my absence very graciously. Mr. Hedger is not with us this evening, so I will go ahead and call the roll. Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Present.
Ms. DeWald?
Here.
Ms. Underwood?
Here.
Ms. Alexander?
Here.
Ms. Zorb? Ms. Blythe?
Here.
Ms. Brunner?
Present.
Okay, Ms. Zorb did give us notification that she would not be present this evening.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I move to accept her absence.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I second the motion to excuse Ms. Zorb.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to excuse Ms. Zorb from tonight's meeting by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Underwood. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, we have tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we accept tonight's agenda as presented.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. DeWald to adopt tonight's agenda as presented. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. You have the meeting minutes from our last council meeting, which occurred on September the 18th.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I move to accept those minutes.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. DeWald, a second by Ms. Underwood to accept the meeting minutes from our 9/18 meeting. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. I am not aware of any communication this evening. Is anyone aware of any communication with Mr. Hedger not being here? I did not see anything. Okay, then we will move into the council committee reports, starting with City Community Development and Recreation.
We haven't had a meeting. The next meeting is October 10th,
At 6:30, correct?
6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Next is Budget and Finance.
Same. We have not met. Our next meeting is October the 10th at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you. That'll bring us to Rules and Public Policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am just trying to pull up my, you're just a step ahead of me. I apologize. I'm trying to pull up my meeting.
Welcome.
Meeting minutes. Let's see. Okay, so we last met on Monday, September 25th. We mostly talked about, we were presented with some proposed amendments to Chapter 721 of the North College Hill City Code. Really a significant number of amendments. We did discuss that primarily during the meeting. We all agreed that we just needed a little more context with regard to what it was about. So I think that we'll ask the city manager about that today. And our next meeting will be at the last Monday of October at 6:30.
Mr. President.
That may be a correction there. Hang on, Madam Mayor. I don't think it's the last Monday in October.
That's what I was
Fourth
gonna say.
Monday.
It's- Yeah,
Yes, that is the 24th, correct?
23rd.
23rd? Okay, thank you. Next, public safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on Monday, September 25th at 7:30 PM. Primarily talked about traffic calming. There was a meeting in College Hill that Ms. Zorb was planning to attend and update us about. We'll get those updates from her. What we primarily talked about was just the changes along Hamilton Avenue, coming through College Hill, and then even on the other side of Cross County Highway, how Mount Healthy has kind of made it just two lanes, one lane going either way with parking spaces going all along the side. And we all agreed that we definitely need to do something. While we don't want to rush into anything, we do want to do something. Some of the ideas have already been implemented, and we are working to present something to council. Our next meeting will be the fourth Monday in October at 7:30 PM.
October 23rd. Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Next up is ad hoc reports. If anyone has an ad hoc report,
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald.
I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I was able to share with them some of the plans, the tentative plans for the comprehensive plan. And I believe right now it's in Planning Commission. Is that correct? So they've also discontinued their monthly meetings because they're at a place now where it's our job to take over and go through it and see what we can pull out of it.
Thank you. Any other ad hoc reports? Hearing none, we will move on to administrative reports. Good evening, Madam Mayor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to mention, over the weekend, I went to the block party, the NCH block party, and it was really, really nice. There was a showcase of businesses through the Rain Shop. So I want to give a shout out to Mr. Stephen King, who actually ran, and he owns the Rain Shop, and a lot of the vendors are vendors that he sells their products in his store. Some of them are actually local. There was a local lady who does like gift baskets, and she's a resident of North College Hill. So if you missed it, it was a wonderful time. We did invite those vendors to participate in our Harvest Festival, which is on the 21st of October. So mark your calendars for that, which has a touch of truck. I know everyone's heard all of that before. So that is pretty much all I have. I just wanted to, if you missed it, you missed a good time. And we had our DJs actually in the audience. Like, Mr. Vic Wilson, he DJ'd, so it was really nice. And that's all I have. The rest of the stuff I have, I'm sure the city manager is going to mention it, so.
Madam Mayor, what is the time for the Harvest Festival?
The time, I still have other times in my head, 1 to 5.
1 to 5?
And it's on Goodman, again, where it was last year. And if you don't know, it's the Touch a Truck. I'm sure, as everyone know, we generally do the trunk or treat. But this year, we've decided to combine. So we need people to come out with your trunks so the kids can get a treat. Bring your candy. And, you know, I'm sure Ms. Clear will have the location for you, but we're not going to do the trunk or treat like we did in the previous years. We're going to combine it with this show this year. So we need the trunks and the treats for the kids. So if you want to sign up, just email her. It's a fun time for the kids. It's a fun time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any questions for our mayor? All right, moving on to the city administrator's report. Good evening, Ms. Zeki.
Thank you, Mr. President. You do all have at your seats flyers on both the Fall Festival or the Harvest Festival, so the details you do have there, yes. We have that digitally, so if there are other organizations that you're involved in or volunteer groups that you think are looking for service hours or whatnot, we are still looking for both participants and for volunteers for that. So get in touch with either myself or the rec director and we can get you additional information on that. The other thing you have at your place is a flyer on the 513 relief bus. We are hosting them at the senior center on October 31st. Don't let that scare you off. I know it's Halloween, but we are very happy that they are coming here to North College Hill and we're working with them for some additional dates in 2024. We had tried to get them earlier in the year, but it didn't work out with their schedule. They book almost a year in advance for their services and, the communities that they're going to visit. But we were lucky enough to get this spot for October. But like I said, we're looking at some additional dates in 2024. We will have the senior center open that day for their community partners who need to set up tables inside, but the bus will be parked in the parking lot. So we are looking forward to that. And as we get more information and details, we'll be sure to pass that along. The chamber is planning to host a Meet the Candidates night. I know I've gotten a couple of questions, and I think there's a little bit of confusion about what's going on. They have not selected a date yet. They are looking at 3 different dates later in October, but they have not let me know when that will be. As soon as I know, I will let you all know. I know that they have asked for everyone's email address to make sure you get an invitation, but nothing has been confirmed or sent out yet. So more to come on that. We continue to go to the Safety Council meetings. As I think I mentioned a couple months ago, if we attend a minimum number of these in a calendar year, we qualify for a 3% saving on our workers' comp. So between Debbie, our new finance and HR specialist, and myself, we've been attending those once a month. Planning Commission, which would normally meet on Wednesday at 6:30, has been moved to Thursday due to a conflict. They will be meeting at 6:30 at the Senior Center. They are doing this as more of a work session to talk about the master plan and some comments and feedback that they have that they want to make sure gets incorporated before it comes to council. So if you're interested in that conversation, please let me know. I think they intend to have some snacks there, so it is open to the public, but it will be at the senior center and it will be set up as a, I'm going to call it like a round table kind of setup Thursday. What did I say, 6:30? I'm sorry, 4:45 to 6:45. Sorry, I was still on the other committee meetings. 4:45 to 6:45 on Thursday. The date's different, the time's different, I apologize. Let's see. If you came down Hamilton Avenue, you may notice that they are starting the next phase of our paving project. They should be milling and repaving in earnest this week from our project that we have had ongoing with the water line replacements and all of that, so be patient. I know we have to get through this time. It's difficult with the construction and the vehicles and blocking lanes, but we will have a lovely, smooth paved road once that is completed. The city building is closed next Monday, as I think somebody mentioned earlier, that's why the committee meetings are on Tuesday instead of Monday. So just
Tuesday.
for those who don't know, it's Columbus Day, it's a federal holiday, and this building will be closed. And I think that is it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Zeki. Any questions?
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I have a question. So where do we land in terms of sorta and the follow-up with that? I saw a big sign on Galbraith Avenue down here, I think it's it is Finneytown, where they're considering a sorta hub, and I wanted to know how did that progress after Mr. Mosby left?
Are you asking about the hub?
Yes.
I don't think there has been any progress. I believe we talked about it in finance one night, and we agreed to table the conversation.
Right, that's why it was finance.
Tabled.
Okay. I thought you were following back up with them to see exactly what it entailed.
I don't remember that was a next step.
Okay. I have two questions. My other question is, shoot. Oh, the police levy. Did you have an opportunity to look back and grab the original one?
No, I did not. I forgot about it.
Okay.
I will look for that.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe?
the last time we discussed the Metro Hub, it was announced that it was like an exorbitant price, and they were not going to give us any type of discount, and I think that's why it was tabled. That's the last thing I remembered hearing about it. What the price was, I don't know, but it was kind of astronomical.
That was
Mr.
my
President.
recollection, too.
Thank you.
They wanted us, from my recollection, to put forth the money.
I'm sorry, what?
They wanted us to put forth the money
Right.
to
Yeah.
fund it.
Any other questions? All right, next on the agenda is the Law Director's Report. Mr. Dieters?
Mr. President, I have no report this evening. Thank you.
Any questions for the Law Director? All right, next on the agenda is the Finance Director's Report. She is not present this evening, so we'll move on to call of members, starting with Ms. Dukestein.
A couple of things. I would just like to send my condolences again to Police Officer Pedrosoli and his family. I'm sorry that I couldn't make the services, but definitely with his family in prayer, and just to continue prayer for our city and members in it, or people, employees in it that are going through just adverse times. I wanted to talk about the Harvest Festival. If you are able to be there with your trunk open and candy, be welcome. And also just Halloween in general. I see a lot of my neighbors complaining about teens circulating with bags. They could be doing other things. I'm happy to service teens, and I hope that whatever event we have, whether it be Harvest Festival, Halloween festivities, that we welcome teenagers. They're still children. They still love candy. And I don't even care if they're dressed up or not. You know, I usually ask them what do they want to be when they grow up. I will be honest, my family and I, we don't celebrate Halloween at all, but we give out candy just to participate and help, you know, just to make kids feel welcome and included. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I was in this digital seminar today, and just wanted to put this out there for everyone. So there's we all have kind of gotten with the technology, we quickly pull our cameras up and we scan the QR codes. There's a huge scam with QR codes and diverting to websites that, like, even downtown with parking, if you scan it, some of them have another QR code over it, and it'll divert you to a different one that looks like you're putting information in for parking, but it charges your card like thousands of dollars, and then you don't even know it until it's like too late. So just be careful. The way to help yourself, not become a victim is to make sure that when you're looking at the website, that it is the website that you're supposed to be going to. And then the sort of thing, I'm not for or against it. I just wanted to know because I did see it down there in Finneytown. If they move there, oh well. So just wanted to say that for the record.
May I jump in? I
Yeah.
don't mean to interrupt. Are you talking about the sign on Galbraith that they put up about the road project?
It's not about the road project. I did see that as well.
Okay. Okay, that's the only sign I've seen down there for that.
Yep. And then the North College Hill teams down here, well, they park here, and then they're down there. Like, the spirit and the camaraderie, it's just super lovely to have that kind of, thing going on in our community. A busy community is a community with foot traffic and people traffic, and it's just good to have people coming into North College Hill, especially when they don't live here. It just puts us on the map. So I just feel like it's good traffic. I happened to walk down there this Saturday before. It was like very, very early, but they were setting up, and it was just really a community thing, and I appreciate their presence. So I just wanted to say, whoever allowed that, put that together, it's awesome. And then the both the harvest and the block parties, I'm excited about that because, again, it gives our community traffic. There are multiple events. It's happy to have our calendar filled up with city things. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Dukestein. Next up, Ms. DeWald.
I'd like to agree with Ms. Dukestein regarding is it football they're playing down there? Because I can hear it from my front yard, and it's so much fun. You hear that? There's no screaming and yelling. Everybody's cheering, and it's just happy. And I'm glad that it's here. And like you, I'm glad that we have these recreational things for the community to come together because it's been much needed. Also, I offer my condolences to the Petroselli family. My husband represented us because I had surgery that day, so couldn't go. Also, we talk so much about traffic calming, and I want to bring up what happened in the news today. A 6-year-old boy is in the hospital with a head injury in serious condition. And where the accident happened, he was hit by a car that drove away. He was in between 2 speed humps. The kid was in between 2 speed humps. So I don't know if speed humps we don't have an exact answer, but I think we need to be super careful about what we try to do to make sure. So anyway, I'm finished.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. Next up, Ms. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too would like to just send my condolences to Officer Petroselli and his family. And I would really like to say thank you to Stephen King, who owns the Rain Shop in North College Hill, for sponsoring and hosting kind of the block party. I think it is amazing to have a business owner in North College Hill who invests his time and resources to support or put on an event like that. I wasn't able to attend because, my daughter's getting married, 1 daughter, 1 marriage. So we had an event for her, but I heard nothing but great things about it, saw some of the pictures. I'm just really excited to see that kind of thing. And I would also like to say what Ms. Dukestein said about teenagers and trick-or-treating. I agree. I think that, they're still kids, and we like to forget that. We call them teens, but they're really kids. And, I'm over the trick-or-treating thing. We did celebrate Halloween, but my children are now adults. But I am happy to participate in trunk or treat and pass out candy to the older children or teens, as the case may be. I think that's a great idea. Not so excited about people knocking on my door until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, but okay. Just my thoughts and prayers go out to people in our community who who need that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Next up, Ms. Alexander.
I would like to extend my condolences also to the family of Officer Petroselli, and also a speedy recovery to Lakeisha. And also, once again, like to thank Mr. King of the Rain Shop for sponsoring. And I'd like to thank everybody who was involved, because I know it was a group effort. Had a great time. They had lots of vendors there. They had an exercise demonstration where you can participate, or you can just like me, I just sat back and admired the dexterity and, the coordination. Yeah. I had the opportunity of buying some products, because I try to, I try to support all the various vendors in the area. If it's a new one, hey, I'm there. I'll try to be one of the first ones there. So I bought some stuff for me and my husband. I also had a great opportunity to participate in the tailgate that North College Hill had. It was their first one, and so I volunteered to help, and they had food and music, and they gave tours to, it was the class of 1983, so it was their 40th year reunion. And so I got to meet several of them and talk to them. I talked to them about council, and they had all kinds of questions, and they was telling me about how the community has changed since they've been here, and where UDF used to be, and all the various little stores, and some stories I can't even share, but they were a lively bunch. So it was a lot to do this weekend, and I really appreciated the turnout and the various ideas that came forth with the idea. And I have a soon-to-be teenager, and I know she wants candy. So yes, I'll be participating in a trunk or treat, and anything to, bring the neighborhood together. Of all ages. It's not just seniors. It's not just middle of the road. It's a whole group of people. We have to do things for everyone. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Ms. Blythe, the floor is yours.
No comment at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Brunner.
I just want to say condolences to the Petroselli family and prayers to our office manager, Ms. Sager. And I just want to say that this Fall Fest is coming up. If you cannot have a vehicle for trunk or treat, there's a lot of other things to volunteer for. For cleanup, we need volunteers bad. All these events that's in North College Hill, we need volunteers. So I appreciate if you can trunk or treat, just come out and volunteer for whatever you can. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Brunner. That concludes call of members. That brings us to remarks from the audience. Ms. Icky, is anyone signed in?
Yes, sir.
All right. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is to go into an executive session. So I would like for a motion and second.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I move to go into executive session pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code of 121.22. Council enters executive session under Section G1 to consider the appointment, staffing levels, or employment of a public employee or an official.
Thank you. Need a second.
I'd like to second that.
Ms. Dukes-Dean? All right, motion on the floor to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22. Council enters executive session under Section G1 to consider the appointment, staffing levels, or employment of a public employee or official. The motion by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Dukes-Dean. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Dukes-Dean?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion to go into executive session passes 6-0. We will go into the office area, please.
sometimes, too.
All right, we will bring this meeting back to order.
Is there legislation on here?
All right, we are now up to the legislation portion of the agenda. First item on the agenda, we do have three pieces of legislation on tonight's agenda. The first is a first reading resolution number 23-2023. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. Ms. Ike, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is part 2 of the county tax budget approval process. So you may recall back in August, we had an emergency meeting. We passed the county tax budget. They have responded. And I believe you all saw a copy of that letter when we got it. We had it for the finance meeting last time. So it certified the amounts that we were going to get. So we got the official notification and request to pass our piece of legislation from the county last Monday. They provided the draft ordinance, but they, of course, asked that we have it returned by October 1st, which was yesterday. And every community in Hamilton County is facing the same dilemma we are. But I did say that we had a meeting on Tuesday and that I hoped it could be passed so that we could get it back to the county as close to their timeline as they would have liked.
Thank you, Ms. Ike. So that means we would need to suspend second and third readings tonight
Madam
and then
President.
pass this.
Mr. President, sorry.
I understand. I've been gone for 2 months, and I understand.
I'd like to suspend second and third readings.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein,
I had a question for Ms. Ike.
can we wait till the discussion time? Get my
Oh,
second
yes,
on here? Okay.
absolutely.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to suspend second and third readings for resolution number 23-2023. The motion was by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Underwood. Discussion, Ms. Dukestein.
Sorry, just to make sure I'm understanding, that, was this the one that we were it was like 3% less based on their calculations?
From the Duke
Okay.
portion that they were negotiating or arbitrating, I guess.
Any other discussion?
No.
All right, motion to suspend second and third readings for resolution 2023. Motion by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Underwood. I will call the roll. Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion to suspend passes 6-0.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we adopt Resolution 23-2023.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. DeWald to adopt Resolution 23-2023. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is a first reading for ordinance number 14-2023, an ordinance to provide a one-time notwithstanding exception to ordinance number 5-2023, establishing the salaries and staffing levels for the city of North College Hill and declaring an emergency. Ms. Ike, do you want to add anything to that?
Mr. President,
I have Ms. DeWald first.
okay.
I make a motion to suspend second and third.
Mr. President, I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Underwood to suspend second and third readings for ordinance 14-2023. Any discussion? All right, Motion on the floor is to suspend second and third readings for ordinance 14-2023. Motion by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Underwood. I will call the roll. Ms. Dukestein?
No.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
No.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
No.
It is a tie, but the motion fails. Correct? So I don't have to vote?
Nope.
All right, motion to suspend second and third readings for ordinance 14-2023 does fail. All right, that will take us to our last item of legislation, which is first reading for ordinance number 15-2023, an ordinance to authorize agreement to accept an Ohio Public Works Commission combination grant and interest-free loan for certain necessary road improvements.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I will move to suspend the second and third reading for ordinance 15-2023.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Underwood to suspend second and third readings of ordinance 15-2023, second by Ms. DeWald. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I would just like to remind my colleagues that we had an opportunity before to get a no-interest loan to fix Prospect Place, and we didn't take advantage of that and lost the opportunity. Apparently, this is grant money in addition to an interest-free loan to make some much-needed repairs to streets within our cities. I would just ask my colleagues to take that into consideration.
Any other discussion? All right, motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. DeWald to suspend second and third readings, ordinance 15-2023. I will call the roll. Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Motion to suspend passes 6-0.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald, or Ms. Underwood? Sorry.
close enough. I move that we adopt ordinance 15-2023.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald.
I second that.
Motion to adopt ordinance 15-2023 by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. DeWald. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
The motion passes 6-0. That is all we have by way of legislation. Next on the agenda is further remarks from the audience. We had no one signed in. You have anything to add? All right, that'll take us to old business. Anyone have any old business?
Who printed this?
Hearing none, we'll move to new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Blythe.
I was under the impression that the clerk for North College Hill is on maternity/paternity leave. That's what I thought. Chris Hedger, he's on leave.
Mr. President,
Yes, he's on leave.
Dukestein.
Yes.
I believe, I don't remember what day it was, but I actually do think it started in October.
Yeah,
Correct.
that was my understanding.
He did.
He
did
said he
let me
wouldn't be at meetings, but he would still do the work.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He-
Because
yeah.
he had commented at the beginning of the meeting, like, I don't know where Mr. Hedger is, but he's on leave.
No, I'm sorry. I don't believe I said I didn't know where he was. I believe I said he wasn't going to be with us this evening.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No communication.
But he's, expecting his first newborn, yeah. So I just thought I'd bring that
Thank
to
you.
your
I
attention.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other
Welcome
new
back,
business?
welcome back.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other new business?
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald?
Hearing no new business, I move to adjourn.
Mr. President, I second that.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. DeWald, second by Ms. Underwood. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. DeWald?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned. Thank you.